Wonder Girl issue 6, Joelle Jones with Leila Del Duca on the art. So this continuing on Yara's story, and we were all a little bit down on the last couple issues. We were starting to get a little frustrated. I will say that I'm probably going to drop it now after this issue.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a little bit more mixed on this art, on this issue, in that it's starting to play a bit more with the mythology again. Or more accurately, it's teasing playing with the mythology again. But by the end, I feel that we're just in the same place again as we were 3 issues ago.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just rushing through some of its ideas a bit too quickly, and therefore a lot of it's not having weight. Yara gets trapped in this issue in a cage by the big giant dude, right? And Eros shows up, right, and starts talking to her, and he's like, "Why did you turn down Hera's offer?" Blah blah blah, right? And they're having this sort of debate, and he's upset about it, and she's like, "I don't want to be like someone's attack dog. I'd rather die a natural death after a human life than live forever as someone that I'm not supposed to be," and so on and so on. But there's a moment here, and then she says at the end, though, even if it's with someone that I love, and like he's already gone when she says that, but like, I'm like, I could not give a shit about you. The fact that you might think as a writer that I might even entertain the idea that she's in love with Eros in any way that means something to me, as in that you've earned it.
I would say I don't think it's supposed to. If I recall, didn't Eros, because Eros is basically Cupid.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Didn't Eros like shoot her with the arrow to make her think she was in love?
He did. The problem for me though is that, like, the book almost barely acknowledged or played with the idea that love was like a manipulation, and like played and used it as a story where we're seeing her go through these moments where she should be making a different decision, but we're sort of watching her like almost start to like find herself from within or so. It's never done that. It just kind of like, we went through this weird training issue montage of her like preparing to be Hera's attack dog, and then she said no because it wasn't right for her, and that's fine. And then there's been a lot of action since then. We've just been kind of churning through a lot of encounters, I feel like, with her in this book, which is a shame. I just don't feel like the story's flowing naturally. So this moment where it's like this, even with someone I love at the end, like I had to stop and think about it. I'm like, wait, what? Oh yeah, I guess, but it I don't know. It doesn't. I felt frustrated by all of it.
I'm with you. Joe, I will say, is the best thing in this issue.
Yes.
The art still managing to look fantastically like Joel Jones's art, even though it's a different artist again to last issue.
No, that's a fair point. Obviously after this, she ends up fighting the big giant, stabs him in the ankle. And that art is solid. It's all very solid stuff. She's kind of.
I was trying to figure out who this giant was supposed to be, if it was supposed to be anyone particular, because we're in Tartarus, we're playing with Greek mythology, and this stabbing here, I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like a take on Achilles? Because this is, roughly the Achilles heel, right?
Yeah, that's in the right place for it. I mean, you'll know better than I do.
There's no reference to that later. There's no.
Yeah, maybe it kind of is, but it's just like an Easter egg. It's not important for anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like the action's fine, and she has like a moment where she saw, and this is the sort of thing. Maybe like delving into this a bit more would be nice. Is this idea she's going to use Ebola, and she's like, she can do different things with it and get different effects out of it if she channels the right kind of like ideas and stuff. And it kind of touches on it briefly, but not enough. Like I'm like, go into this more. Like talk about how she can channel like fire or lightning or whatever based on whatever god she's tapping into or whatever it is, right? Like, but it just kind of mentions it briefly, and then there's a scene where she actually does it and like electrocutes the giant, and I'm like,
yeah,
make that a thing. That should be the end of an issue. That should be like an arc over an issue of her like learning to use this properly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say maybe that still could come, because this isn't learning to use it properly. This is still just heat of the moment. It worked.
Yeah,
there's no control still.
It feels like it's not focusing on the elements of the story that I think are interesting, and instead just keeps like throwing mythology so quickly that it's just kind of churning through it.
And it says a lot that me and Matt love the mythology, right? In general, as a rule. And this book isn't really working for either of us right now either, unless for some reason Matt loved this issue, which I suspect he didn't. But maybe he had a change of heart. I don't know. But up until now, we've kind of been in the same sort of situation where it's not hitting that stuff correctly.
Yeah. And then of course Donna and Cass are with the Esquecida. What's it?
Yeah.
All right. The Brazilian Amazon tribe, and they're basically the door to Olympus, and Yara's. We've already seen that she's on the other side trying to open it, so they're kind of like about to run into each other. But the end of the issue is we got are they supposed to be specific? Is that meant to be Ares?
I was assuming so, judging by the helmet.
Yeah, it's a very Ares looking helmet. Yeah,
it is. I mean, if they tell me it's not, then sure. Yeah. But my assumption was Ares.
The way it played it just kind of felt like it was maybe more generic than that. But yeah, it could just be Ares. And it ends on this cliffhanger. And to be honest, like I was sort of thinking early on this issue that I'm like, if I'm not more into this by the end of this issue, I'm probably done.
No, I don't think I will either. We kind of brushed up it. Jerry's alive. He just shows up.
Oh yeah,
undercutting that beat from last issue. No explanation. No, they just Jerry's fine.
Yeah. Storytelling is just not that hot, unfortunately, which is a shame because the character is so likable, and that's why it worked in those first few issues that we got over. But like actually building a story out of this, it's just such a mess to me in terms of like flowing, in terms of making me care about the next beat and understanding what we're trying to achieve at any given point. It just kind of feels like a series of random events by and large.
I agree. I still think the core ideas of both the character and this story could work. There's nothing inherently wrong with the ideas. I just think they're not presented in a very cohesive fashion. They need... I know I said this last year, but it just needs a better writer to kind of take these ideas. I think Joel Jones needs a co-writer to take these ideas and turn them into something a bit more coherent.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be mean because Joel Jones is a fantastic artist.
Oh, without a doubt.
But yeah, the writing's a bit wonky.
And I think she has good ideas. I think all the ideas that we talk about in this story, the heritage, the stuff with Hera, and I think all of these things are good on paper. They're just not coming together on the story.
I also think she has a good voice. Like I think the reason why we fell for Yara in the first place is because she has such a great voice for that character. But unfortunately, that does not necessarily build a story, though. So
yeah,
here we are. All right, what are you giving Wonder Girl issue 6?
Probably like a 5, and that's accounting for the pretty great art.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it's not like a disaster or anything. So even though like I'm frustrated because yet again I've gotten a really lukewarm piece of writing out of it, it's still worse writing. It's just not like if I keep reading 5s, I get pissed off at the 5s. So
yeah, they're not the worst if you have an odd 5 here or there, but you don't go out of your way to read 5s, do you?
But this has been like 3 in a row that maybe even 4 in a row at this point that I felt.
Yeah.
Issue 3 onwards has kind of been rough by and large, and played more in my patience as it went on. So I'll agree with the 5, but yeah, I'm done with Wonder Girl at this point.